Welcome everyone to this very special program. I am your host, Aubrey Batchelor. Sailing this amazing ship of knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. We hope you've been good since the last episode, and life's been crazy and hectic like normal for me and Chris. It seems like in our pre-show talk like normal. But today's topic, we wanted to bring up some kind of lesser known UFO events because UFO has been a hot spot. Okay, excuse me. UAP, as it's classified now in the mainstream
Mhm.
media, has been a hot spot topic in the last 5 years. And obviously, we talk about aliens quite frequently here and UFO activity quite frequently on this channel. And there's so many things that happen globally that it's tough to just put in all your mind, of what random people might see up in the sky that's never reported to everything that's been reported and everything that's out there that's unknown and everything out there that's known, man-made nor man-made. It just kind of, unfathomable to think because all roads lead to Roswell. There's that quote too about this episode. And this episode is about lesser known UFO events. And all roads do lead to Roswell, including man-made technology, I believe, leads to Roswell. So,
Mhm.
the diversification and the divergence off of real alien craft, breaks off from Roswell. So that's why all roads lead to Roswell. It's kind of the modern spark of oh crap.
I found out that also had to do with that had to do with Hitler's technology as well when he was given the technology by aliens before that. That was actually one of his, and then from that alien tech is what spurned off all of our others. So it was what was given to him, and then it kind of jump pointed off of several others. But Roswell was the main one. Yeah.
Yeah. And most people are aware of the Roswell story for the most part, and that's why we decided to talk about a little bit lesser known cases in this one. And I know we've done similar episodes in the past, and we've mentioned certain things in the past, but we haven't delved into them a little bit. And like I said, some of these cases are very important. I feel like that we're going to talk about because if you don't remember the past, it's forgotten. Uh, in this instance, most of the time, if you're human, if you forget, you're doomed to repeat it.
Hmm.
But in this case, it can be forgotten. And that's where, we're going to make different correlations to intermix back here. Like I said, all roads lead to Roswell. We'll look at the ancient historical uh, uh, engravings like hieroglyphics, the helicopter hieroglyphic. Look at that. I just believe that there's proof in ancient writings that they left for us that they were seeing people in the sky. And
Exactly.
look at the show Ancient Aliens, they dive into all that too. But even before that show, me as a kid was like, okay, there's got to be something more to this here.
Hmm.
As a kid, I was thinking about all that. I didn't really believe in it until I seen, UFOs. You got to believe it to see it in a way, and I know a lot of people like that listening to this right now
Oh
that
yeah.
probably don't even believe in
I
aliens or
believed it,
UFOs.
but I started seeing it more and more as a kid. There were a lot of them, especially in Lincoln, Nebraska. There, yeah, it was a lot of them.
And comment down below if you have seen UFO and tell us about your experience. We want to know about it. And comment also if you've never seen one and tell us if you don't believe in aliens. A lot of people don't. You know how many people I've sparked up a conversation with randomly talking about random UFO cases? And I don't want to talk about that. I don't believe in that. People just say whether they're uncomfortable or just don't believe in it. And some
Or
just
what? Or if you do, what do you think it is? Is it our own or is it alien?
exactly. And I say, why not talk about that? They
Mhm.
could talk about it being man-made craft, the possibility about that.
Or hybrid tech or something?
No, that doesn't. That hell, it don't exist.
Yeah. If you say it doesn't exist, I understand your perspective because it could be based on like a religious perspective or a
and
skeptical one.
and see, this is the main point I wanted to bring up today too, before we get into the cases. I think there's a lot of manipulation and mind tactics going on about what to believe and what not to believe. I
Mm.
believe that some of these UFO cases now are just fucking AI generated bullshit that probably ain't even real. It
Yeah.
just makes you, oh shit, oh that's real, that's real. You get you all excited for the believers and just more disruption. I guess. I guess it's the melting pot of manipulation and confusion and
Yeah, be very careful of these current videos because the AI stuff has gotten really, really good.
I will admit that I've been listening to AI music and it's pretty catchy, like
Yeah.
Elvis singing Billie Jean. And then like Insane Clown Posse is like a hillbilly band, but it like is pretty good. Like,
Somebody did one of the wheels on the school bus go round and round, sung by like Metallica. So
oh,
yeah.
that'd be all right. Yeah. See, the AI music's kind of cool, but the rest of it, it can go. As far as I'm concerned, we can go back living like it's 1900 and get rid of all this technology.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could go back to at least to the 50s.
it sounds bad, but I wish that we weren't even recording the show right now. You guys had to listen to us on the radio, like old
Yeah,
fashioned.
that would be cool. I actually would enjoy, I think I would enjoy doing podcasts and stuff better if everybody was listening on one of those wooden radios, that they had
Hmm.
back then. We actually have one of those in storage, by the way, an actual
On
one.
the amplitude modifier.
Yeah, the old technology is actually, before I get into my stuff, the old technology was actually better. It was unhackable, like the old first generation IBMs and stuff like that. When the computers started, those are unhackable. That was unhackable.
When it was the computer was the size of this room.
Yeah, that the first generation stuff, that was all uncorruptible, unhackable tech at that point, analog based tech. That's also with music, with records. If you look at the sound waves for analog, the analog sound waves flow upward like this. For digital, it's like this rigid like staircase for the sound waves, and it's different. It's very different. It's more
And
muted.
and combining that fact, going back with the statement of all roads lead to Roswell, look the technological advance that happened a mere 14 years later after Roswell. The first human being entered space. We basically go from horse and buggy when it comes to history and time to
Mm-hmm.
landing on the moon overnight. Basically, when it comes to history and time.
Yeah,
It happened overnight. A horse and buggy to landing on the
it's like
moon.
eggheads were learning from all the crap.
Yeah. So what happened? To me, there was a huge technological advance that was discovered. And I think a lot, I shouldn't say all, a lot of technology today was came from Roswell, was branched off from Roswell.
Yeah,
I
fiber
believe.
optics especially, they have a report out there of like they were finding these fibers that were multicolored and everything from down to alien craft. That's what we know as fiber optic cable. No.
That I can't I can't prove it and I can't describe it all. The best way that I can say is that, here's technology throughout history and time. Right here I get to my mouth. If you're looking at your screen, we get to like 1900, it jumps up to the tip of my nose. We get to Roswell and it like jumps up to the top of my head. And then it
Mhm.
just climbed up ever since.
Yep, and it's
So
been
there was this
skyrocketing.
huge bump in technology around that time, in that 10-year time period of something that we discovered and something that we implemented. And
Hmm.
I believe also in combination with the statement you had of Nazi and Hitler and their UFO alien technology activity, like the Bell and whatever else they were experimenting with, they came under Operation Paperclip
Yep.
just before then and may have already had some sort of experience. And then Roswell happened. And then it's just, theories and combinations, but it's kind of,
Yeah, and then
I
Wernher
think,
von Braun becomes the head of NASA,
yeah, and all these research facilities, the timing of everything. And then that jump in
and the jump in
technology.
technology. You can trace it back to the Nazis also every time. So
Yep. So I don't know. And aliens and UFOs, possibly. So
aliens and
what?
Nazis are and the paranormal are all just kind of interlocked together.
Hmm.
The occult, all of it. Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, you know, I would say overall, I'm not a master at any topic, but I know a lot about all the topics. UFOs and aliens have always been my favorite, probably
Yeah.
because I've seen UFOs, and I've seen six, seven of them now, and I know four or five of the UFOs I've seen, I believe was not a man-made operated craft, whether a man was in there, whether it was, remotely operated by a man, by a human. Uh, I don't believe so. I think it was an extraterrestrial craft, not of well, maybe of this world. The theory is that they could be living here too, certain
Mhm.
species.
Oh yeah, I know certain species
But
that are like in New Mexico. There's a species of gray called eben that's living in and around the Sandia Base area. There,
and you remember
Antonio.
Phil Schneider and all, yeah, the Dulce underground bases,
Mm-hmm.
the DUMBs, the deep underground military base.
Yes, yeah.
Uh,
I know for a fact they hate it when people call them dumbs. It's like, well, don't do dumb shit then. It's
well,
like
yeah, Dumois. It's pronounced. It's not dumbass. It's Dumois.
or Dumas,
uh, but if you'd like, why don't you go ahead? We were talking pre-show, and I'm just gonna bust the bullet right here. It's kind of ironic. Chris is kind of doing two of his local forgotten ones from the Virginia area, and I'm actually doing two in particular. And like I said, we were gonna spend time talking about four kind of lesser known a little bit, but we're also the rest of the show we're kind of just combining UFO theories and that correlate to these stories, I guess, per se, because they all
Mhm.
intermix. But these are
Yeah,
some important stories I feel that need to not be forgotten about, I guess.
yeah. This is let me look at this real fast. But I mine were all a couple of them were that I know were actually alien related. And I had a thing that pop up here a minute ago, but the window got shut. But I will actually just say this here. It is these are three that are our own personal experiences that I noticed people were oblivious to that were around us at the time of the things happening. Uh, Two of which were this week, guys. So uh, alone. Well, not this week, excuse me, in the past 3 weeks, excuse me. Um, the first one,
Hmm.
the very first one is the oldest one, and that's from 2016. And other people were reporting this as well. So this one people weren't completely oblivious to. It just other people were reporting it at separate times. I noticed a lot of the UFO cases are all similar here. So they're all either a Mercury-looking like spaceship blob in the sky, some cloud formation, or some sea formation. Or some orbital formation. So they all seem to be very similar, and people mix them in with the ghost lights and spook lights and stuff like that. So what I just kind of amalgamated it because there were so many of the same identical thing. So what happened to us? The very first one, I call this the burning sea because what actually occurred is me and Joanna were out I believe it was in the Outer Banks. And that is a major UFO hotspot in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. That makes up Nag's Head, Kitty Hawk, and Kill Devil Hills all together, bunched together right there. You go a little further over, it's Rodanthe as well. So in that generalized area where it juts out into the ocean, there. It is one of the biggest UFO and paranormal hotspots in this entire general area. It's about an hour and a half from our house. And
Hmm.
Ocracoke Island falls under that. The Pirate Cove there falls under this category too. You got to reach it by ferry. But this whole area is known for these spook lights, UFO cases of all types, from triangular to the classic look to the blob looking ones, and it's mainly spook lights. But in our case, you have we were walking at night on the beach out there in the Outer Banks, and this is close to the Wright Brothers Monument, the state park that's right there in Kitty Hawk, and it's like literally within walking distance of the lifeguard house that's across. Here's the monument, here's the lifeguard house across the roadway there, and there's a couple houses and businesses in between there. What happened was at night, and this was back in 2016, I believe we saw this, walking on the beach, we all of a sudden, we were looking at the bioluminescent plankton that would wash up, the blue plankton that you see all the time that glows. So we first at first we were thinking this was this, but it was too distinct. All of a sudden we see this big fire burning wave that comes out of the ocean, and it's just this burning orangey red just wave of something you knew happened. underneath the ocean of some explosion or something that was making the water burn, and you could tell it was a fiery orangey red. And this was something you could feel the energy from. You could feel a little heat from it. And this was because it was like something that the military and or ETs were doing under the sea. And it was probably one of the big, more monumental things that we came across. I've also seen reports online of people also talking about the burning sea as well. So this was not this is an unusual phenomenon. This is not an unseen one by other people. So that's why I brought this up, is because it's both sides of the fence. It's us and others. So this was between 2016 and now people have seen the burning sea. So this is a concept that's actually out there. So and it's been seen several times. Some people have theorized that it's the military at war with aliens under the ocean, just like in the movie Aquaman. You see the battles go on, and you see crap go on the surface and everything.
Well, that's why I was curious. I haven't heard of any reports at all. There was one, and this is an honorable mention. I'm just going to mention because you're talking about those.
Mhm.
There was one up in Canada called the Shag Harbor incident of a USO that was reported diving in and out of the water. And
Mhm.
since you're right there with all the naval activity and
USOs have been
right
seen out
by
here
the
quite a bit.
ocean,
Yeah.
yeah.
There
I
was
haven't heard of anything though out
Yeah,
there.
with the burning sea, that one is not a commonly reported one, but it has been reported though.
Hmm.
There's a friend of ours up in Massachusetts that reported spaceships over a beach up
Hmm.
there within the past 5 years. So
Hmm.
that we're up on one of the beachheads up there near Salem. So, and I know that's a big alien and paranormal hotspot of Salem for obvious reasons, but for the witch burning time frame and other,
Yeah.
it got corrupted, but it was more of a PowerPoint like ley line intersection up there. And the same thing goes with the Outer Banks. It's a ley line intersection. So you're seeing this happen. I thought that was actually quite interesting that it's appearing on these ley line intersections. And the other thing that was actually quite similar to the Burning Sea concept is something that took place to us about roughly 3 weeks ago. And I nicknamed this concept the inking because this was, again, very similar to the burning sea, but it was black and not orange. And it looked like this big shaded thing. This was right at the Virginia Beach boardwalk, right in
Hmm.
front of people. People were not even people were oblivious. This is how we know we are meant to see something, because this was a
Yep.
big enough concept where I'm thinking, why are people not seeing this? We're looking at this and we're standing there watching this big black blob going from where the military base would be in Newport News, traveling under the water all the way over to towards the other military base at Dam Neck towards Sandbridge. Now you have the boardwalk, which is, if you're facing the ocean, it's here. You have Newport News off one direction, and you have Dam Neck off and Sandbridge off the other direction. And this was going from one area to the other. And I know something was under, like a vessel of some kind was letting off something under the water. First, we thought it was maybe a USO that was in like a blobus like camouflage, but it was actually more chemically based, like somebody under the water was doing something or traveling in a craft that was letting off this weird black oozy substance. Either way, it was USO related. And the people are walking by, and we're even saying, "What's this? What's this?" Nobody could see it. Not one person could see it. And that even if they did, they weren't saying, they were spooked by it or something. But most people weren't even looking at it. Even some people looking towards the ocean were pointing towards a freighter ship that was off in the distance. And nobody's seen this. It was thick, thick black. I mean, shadowy black. And can craft also form that if they're interdimensional as well, or have a camouflage? Yes. Either way, I think this was USO related, because this was very obviously the UFO, UAP, whatever the hell they want to brand it as now, USO. Of course, they keep USO the same, but then they rebrand UFO to UAP. But
I still like it when somebody uses the term flying saucer.
uh-huh. Oh yeah, they need to keep it the same. Guys, keep the brand the same, please.
Yeah.
Uh, keep it UFO, please. But with this now, I got to change a lot of our stuff to UAP. But it's like, but this was obviously USO related, and I did look it up to see if other people had reported something like that. The closest thing would be lights in the water with like orbs popping out, and also USO related. So people have been reporting that up and down the coast here. So,
Hmm.
but in our area, Virginia Beach itself is a hotspot for UFO activity. Yes, I said it, guys. Don't rebrand it. But guys, if you want to see it go back to UFO, keep saying UFO. But yeah, the biggest one out there are these Mercury-like vessels. There's so many reports of this similar type one where it's like this Mercury blob looking like Tic Tac shape, and it's like almost like how in Terminator 2 when T-1000 would morph and it was like the big Mercury liquid metal looking one. This is what it looked like. And I've seen these before. I saw one in Lincoln, Nebraska years ago that decloaked and cloaked again. It was this blobus looking tic tac. And here in this area, it's not really necessarily been forgotten per se. It has been it's more the common case. The forgotten stuff, or is what I said before, the weird anomalous stuff, like the burning sea and like the oil, like that oil slick, like that oozy oil slick. Now I know there's different ETs like reptilians and stuff like that, like to use the oozy foggish type theatrical crap. But aside from the alien component, these are the phenomenon that are well, the least reported, and then the most reported is the Mercury, Blobus UFO.
Hmm.
There's been regular ones like triangular ones and stuff seen as well, but the ones that have been swept under the rug most of all are those USO cases that look weird. The orbs, the spook light types are the most common in that area. The oozy, foggish, blobbish, oil slick, inking slick, and the burning sea are the least. So the ones we encountered, like at least the burning sea has been reported by someone else. I could not find a single thing on the inking concept at all, except what we saw. So I wanted to make sure that that was not forgotten, that that wasn't just a one-off. If anybody else has reported the weird USO inking type blobus thing under the water, let us know. But or the burning sea, because those two would fall into the almost forgotten category, right there.
Hmm.
And it's an unusual one. Like I said, spook light being the top one, orbs, lights under the water are the biggest.
And is it just like consistent lights, or do they emit different lights like the orbs? Is it like flash different lights, or is it just the same light?
It's a kind of the same thing. Orbs under the water come in and out, and there's this bright, long light under the water,
But
different
just the
colors.
same colored light. It doesn't fluctuate lights or anything.
Oh yeah, they fluctuate colors like Christmas lights a lot of times.
Yeah.
So that seems to be a really common one. Even Christopher Columbus saw that exact thing on the way to the United States, but before the United States was formed, on the way to North America. He saw that exact thing. It's reported in ancient times.
Ryan, I seen one at mile marker 253 in between Anselmo and Myrna. It looked like a reverse firework. It
Hmm.
like came out of the night. That's one of the seven I've seen, six or seven I've seen.
Yep.
It came out
Yep.
of the nighttime sky out of the blue, and it just like shot straight down to the highway, vanished. It emitted a bright reddish orange, green, white, blue. It fluctuated all those colors. It only from the time that it abruptly happened to the time that it vanished in front of me and another car on the highway was only like maybe three-quarters of a second.
Mm.
And like it emitted all those colors at least
Yeah. Oh
20.
yeah, that's the ones out here. That's they can also travel in like lakes and rivers as well, the deep ones like the Mississippi. I've heard of cases in the Mississippi as well. Where waterways that are under the ground too, they travel through to the oceans on
Hmm.
the other end. kind of like in Oak Island where they have the water channels on either end and they can come meet towards the center of it. It's
Hmm.
like that. It's that design for our domes, but they have waterways where subs can come in and out and USOs can come in and out. So that doesn't surprise me that you saw that there as well. A lot of activity around Lincoln and Omaha. So a huge amount. My grandfather worked at the Lincoln Air Force Base and off it, and he said there was a lot of ET and government cover up crap going on there. So years ago. So this was back in that time frame. This was back actually this was back in the 60s, I want to say. So when they closed Lincoln Air Force Base, I believe that was the 70s or 80s. But if I got that fact wrong, somebody let me know. But he said they quote unquote closed it, but they went underground more. They went into the subterranean. It wasn't on the surface anymore. Like Area 51, it's all underground. So
Hmm.
and Dolce and all those places. So yeah, I'll save my biggest one for the end of the show if you want to go.
Okay. Well, then I'll dive into two. I'm gonna just pick it up. I'm gonna talk about another military base. Well, there was a UFO incident. So
Hmm,
we'll just transition into that. I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and that is right here.
for sure. Okay.
So I'm going to talk about an incident from the state of South Dakota and one from Nebraska. So I'm talking about some Midwest ones, and this one happened at Ellsworth Air Force Base near Rapid City. And my cousin actually was stationed at this Air Force base about 40 years after the event. But still, I never hardly see her at all, but I would like to question her about it. Just sometimes she heard anything through the grapevine. But I doubt if I get any answers. The Ellsworth UAP, here they go UAP again. The Ellsworth UAP, UFO, USO.
Whatever you guys want to freaking call it.
Yeah, the identified alien craft, a UAC. Sightings involved a series of radar visual observations of identified flying objects that occurred between August 5th and 6th in 1953. Initially seen over Bismarck, North Dakota. Witnesses to these aerial objects included both civilian and military observers. The incident was described by Edward J. Ruppelt, first director of Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force investigation into identified flight objects between 53 and 69, as being the best UFO report in the Air Force files. Background: on the evening of the 5th of August, 53, several military and civilian witnesses reported observed what was described as an unusual red object seen moving near Rapid City, South Dakota. The object was reportedly seen to perform several erratic movements during the period that it was observed. So kind of like your light stories over there. There's about, I would say, 20 dominant and prominent styles of UFOs that are reported.
Hmm.
20 different, from cigar shape to the triangular shape to the different lights to the about 20 different ones. An initial call was received by the Air Defense Command radar station at Ellsworth Air Force Base from the local area ground observer corps filter center shortly after dark, which detailed a sighting of the object from an observer near Black Hawk, South Dakota. According to the account, a woman approximately 10 miles west of the base had described seeing an extremely bright light low on the horizon, visible to the northeast. The object, according to one initial witness report, would remain stationary, then hop up several degrees very quickly, almost instantaneously, stop, move to the left, and then swerve down in sort of a slanting motion. Thereafter, repeating this sequence of movements. Personnel at the Ground Observer Corps Filter Center reportedly became very excited as observations of the UAP continued, because they had the feeling that somebody was watching them. So they kind of had that instinctual slash telepathic feeling that they were being watched.
Hmm.
Radar detection. Radar operators at Ellsworth Air Force Base had been engaged at a training operation involving an F-84 Thunderjet turbojet fighter. While flying west of the base at that time, the base received the call. Adjusting their sector scan to the relevant quadrant, they reportedly found a target at the precise location. The witnesses had reported observing the bright hovering object. The object was observed for several minutes on the radar by the warrant officer. serving as the duty controller on the night in question, which he said appeared to be moving slowly at an altitude approximately 16,000 feet. The duty officer asked to be connected with a woman at Black Hawk who reported the object, and while observing it simultaneously from their respective positions, the woman suddenly exclaimed that the object had begun to move and that she was watching it moving southwest toward Rapid City. As the duty controller watched the target moving in his scope toward the southwest, nearby base personnel were ordered to go outside in an attempt to obtain a visual on the object. The observers soon reported Black that they had spotted a large bluish-white light moving in the direction of Rapid City, following a wide circular path over the city before returning to its initial position when first detected on radar. One of the observers, a master sergeant who had served previously in Europe and Korea, later conveyed to Edward Ruppelt of these events that he had never been so completely awed by anything, and that when asked what he thought should be done, he reportedly just stood there, telling Ruppelt, "What in the hell could we do? They're bigger than all of us." First intercept attempt. Following the primary observations of the UAP over Rapid City, the warrant officer contacted the F-84 Thunderjet pilot who was still on combat air patrol to the west of Ellsworth Air Force Base, advising him that he would be vectored toward the object in an attempt intercept. First being directed to the south, the fighter pilot was then placed on a course aimed to take him directly toward the unidentified aircraft. Soon after the course correction occurred, the pilot communicated back to base that he could now see the light ahead in the distance. Closing to within just 3 miles of the object, the UAP suddenly began to move away from the F-84, which the pilot as well as the radar operator and visual observers back at Ellsworth Air Force Base all observed simultaneously. Still at 16,000 feet, the UAP began to ascend and accelerate as it veered to the north with the F-84 in pursuit. As the pilot pursued the object, he communicated back to Ellsworth that the object appeared to suddenly brighten at intervals. Each time he would close to within approximately 3 miles, the craft would automatically pick up speed and pull away, as if the source of propulsion that moved the object were directly linked to a form of radar warning system for the UAP. And this is kind of similar to that video that surfaced a few years back of them fighter pilots trying to
Yep.
chase that
Yes.
UAP. It just kept outmaneuvering them and toying with them. It was just teasing them. Yeah,
Hmm.
ha, you can't catch me. Ha ha, you can't
You
catch
know
me.
damn well that was somebody in there doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. A second intercept and UAP departure. As the F-84 pilot returned to base, it was near approach when the UAP appeared on radar again, located some 10 to 15 miles behind the jet fighter. As the initial fighter was preparing to land, a call came from the jet interceptor squadron on the base where alert pilots were overheard on the radio communication between the original F-84 pilot and radar operator. One of the alert pilots, a veteran of both the Second World War and the Korean War, advised the controller that he wanted to attempt to pursue the object in a second attempt at interception, having reportedly said he wanted to see a flying saucer. Within minutes, the second F-84 was taking off in pursuit of the object, with the pilot quickly obtaining a visual of the UAP and closing toward it. The object began to ascend and move in a northeasterly direction. As the pilot attempted to climb to the object's altitude, it maneuvered below him and resumed its characteristic accelerations each time the pilot approached within 3 miles of the craft. Haha, you can't catch me. While pursuing the UAP, the second pilot attempted to discern whether the light could be a reflection caused by lights from his own aircraft, or possibly a celestial object. However, the object indeed appeared to be an airborne light, the source of which remained indiscernible from the pilot's vantage. The pilot was also successful in detecting the object on his radar. When later interviewed by Ruppelt, the pilot said after pursuing the UAP for a period, he became frightened and requested that the controller allow him to abort the intercept. This time, the object did not follow the second pilot back to base and was last observed departing the direction of Fargo, North Dakota. That's kind of, would that be freaky? I think I'd be freaked out too, just knowing that
Mhm.
something's toying with you. That's probably why they were freaked out. This
Oh
ain't
yeah,
just
somebody's
toying with
messing
me.
with, yeah, just like any of the paranormal cases, if you're in a haunted house or something like that, something's messing with you. This is the ET version of that, you know. Mm.
And then, yeah, it is actually. Project Blue Book investigation. Due to the occurrence of combined air visual, air radar, the ground radar observations, the Ellsworth incident received significant attention from Project Blue Book. Shortly after the main events of the night of August 5th to the 6th, 53 Repelt was sent to the base to interrogate the witnesses. According to Repelt's follow-up report, an attempt was made by the radar controller to photograph the radar display while the UAP was visible on the scope. Photos of this track were taken, the Project Blue Book states, but the camera malfunctioned and the photos were no good. An interview with the second F-84 pilot also revealed that a warning indicator had appeared on his radar gun as he began to pursue the UAP, which remained on until the chase concluded. While the intercept attempt was underway, the radar sight appeared to indicate an object somewhere beyond a distance of 4,000 yards. According to the pilot, the light blinked on and off several times as he returned to base, which might have indicated a malfunction of the radar system. However, the device was not checked by maintenance teams at Ellsworth following the incident to determine if this had been the case. Uh, Ruppelt, who learned that after the primary object had been observed continuing off scope following the second intercept attempt, the inbound F-84 pilot spotted another light while flying approximately 20 miles from base, which could not be located on radar. Initially, the pilot thought it was a car going around curves in the hills, but ruled this out when the object began to display red and white lights of equal intensity. A possible match for the object was thereafter located using height finder equipment, indicating a target of at 8,000 feet in the same direction the pilot observed the lights. Ruppelt declined to interview observers who reported seeing the object at Black Hawk, who, after already speaking with base personnel, were believed to be in an excited state. Subsequent sighting reports from the Bismarck Filter Center to the northeast were also discounted by Ruppelt, who noted that the call ahead from Ellsworth warning to be on the lookout for flying saucers had been a perfect setup to every star move around. Balloon launches coincided with the sightings were probed as possible source, of course, which resulted in the discovery of a pair of lost upper air research balloons that could have conceivably been in the area at that time. Ruppelt said that the radar controller had left the impression he was trying to prove by the existence of the unidentified flying object, noting that the lack of photos depicting the object on the radar scope had been unfortunate, although adding that he saw targets on the scope, there's no doubt about it, but whether they acted exactly as he stated is unknown. Ruppelt's general conclusion was that the incident pending further study remained unexplained. Huh. But then astronomer Jan Heinrich, advisor to Project Gutenberg at the time of the incident, initially held the view that solid objects are certainly indicated by evidence, emphasizing the potential importance of resolving the case in a letter to Captain Charles A. Hardin, dated November 23rd, 1953, where Heinrich stated, "Failure to identify the object pinpoints a possible real weakness in our defense setup." However, upon further investigation, Heinrich began to grow skeptical of the incident, later noting in a January 1954 memo that had now totally discounted the entire incident as an unfortunate series of seemingly coincident circumstances. In contrast to Heinrich's views in his 1956 book, The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects, Ruppelt appeared to remain perplexed by the Ellsworth case, writing that the sighting was thoroughly investigated and I could devote pages of detail on how we looked into every facet of the incident. But it will suffice to say that every faucet we looked into, we saw nothing but a big question mark asking what was it. While opinions about the case varied, no official explanation was ever offered for the incident by the U.S. Air Force. Ultimately, Ruppelt's conclusion in his report to Project Blue Book had been that the Ellsworth UAP incident remained one of its most perplexing unsolved cases. And that's why I chose this one today to talk about, because I feel like it shouldn't ever be forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How'd you like that one?
Yeah, that was actually very interesting. Even though it's similar to other cases,
Hmm.
that one, yeah, that one I don't think is very
I
widely.
guess it's the timing of it more, say,
Yeah,
in
the time.
the 53. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll share one more real quick then. And we will just go back here. And I want to quickly talk about, I've mentioned it before, the Herb Shermer incident
Mm-hmm.
here in Nebraska. Herb was a police officer in Northeast Ashland. He was ex-military and involved his job as a police officer. One night during a night patrol at about 2:15 a.m., Herb noticed an object on Route 63 off to the right of the road. The object was described as a football-shaped craft that was at least 20 foot long. with 8 red portholes that ran along the craft. As Herb turned onto Route 63 going towards the craft, he shined his lights on the craft as he pulled over to the side of the road at 2:30. Once the light hit the object, it began to hover, shining red lights onto the patrol car. And Herb thought that it was initially a like a semi truck that was having troubles pull over to the side of the road. And I just want to make a statement real quick before I get back into anything. He also stated that the beings in this craft were talking to him and all that and had a conversation with him, but they said that they were charging their craft on the power lines.
Hmm.
And I've heard that before as well too when it comes to UFOs and UAPs. Is they're here for a particular substance or source, or they generate something for power. Uh, I've heard different theories with all
Like
that as
nuclear
well.
plants and
Yeah,
geothermal energy, all
I've
that.
even heard sand, like particular sand that they're interested in.
Hmm.
The craft then slowly moved away and disappeared. So Herb decided to head back to the police station and report what happened. When Herb pulled up to the police station, it was 3 a.m., which confused him because he realized he was missing 20 minutes of time. Not think so. There's a missing time phenomenon that's reported in a lot of abduction-like cases. Not thinking too much about it, Herb went in and made his report before his shift was over. When he got home, he realized that he had some marks on his body that were not there. When he woke up that day, the next morning, the police chief saw Herb's report and shockingly believed Herb because he was a good cop, saying that Herb always reported what he saw the way it was, so he completely had his back. Once Herb came back to the police station, him and the chief went to the area where the encounter happened and did an investigation. Once back at the station, they decided to report the incident to the local Air Force base. Roy Craig and John Aarons from the Condon Committee were sent out to do a thorough investigation of the area with Geiger counters, which revealed unusually high levels. When they were done doing the interview with Herb, they were worried about missing time that occurred that night during the 20 minutes Herb could not recount. This is when they called in the famous Dr. Leo Sprinkle from the University of Wyoming to do hypnosis sessions with Herb. Herb did pass a polygraph test, but the regular hypnosis didn't go well. So they resorted to a pendulum technique, which was more comfortable with Shermer. During his 2 sessions, Shermer recalled the police car stalling when pulling up to the craft, and then being coming out of the that walked up to Shermer and took him to the craft itself. And they made a comic about him, I guess. And then I'm going to talk a little bit after I'm done with this article about something else that they made. While inside the craft, he spoke with one of the beings inside the craft that told him about where they came from, but also questioned him about what was he was or what his duty was. And Herb was also questioning about a power plant on the map inside the craft on the wall. Then he was told that humans have been seeing them far too much, so they have been trying to confuse people about their appearance. After exchanging some information, four beings escorted Shermer back to his patrol car, which is when the craft began to hover as told earlier, which took off and disappeared. And supposedly, Herb did an interview that I listened to. I wasn't going to play a snippet of it, but you guys can go ahead and just type in Herb Shermer interview and listen to it on YouTube if you're interested. And I believe him. You know, if you hear his account and everything, I believe him. Uh, but
Does he give an account on like what the aliens looked like?
yeah, he does. Uh, World One, my dog just ended up getting out of the door somehow. um, so the beings were described as four short unknown beings with a device on the left side on where their ears would be, kind of like a little radio, thing. And excuse me, sorry, I lost my track here. Soon after the investigation, Herb Shermer did start having ringing noises inside his ear when he would go to bed at night. And during the night, one time, Herb, while still asleep, handcuffed his wife to the bed by her feet, thinking she was going to be taken. These were all thought to be side effects of being abducted early that morning. Because of what happened, Herb no longer wanted the attention, so he quit the police force and worked as a security guard until retiring. Dr. Condon reported this case in the Scientific Study of Unidentified Flying Objects. In his later book, he wrote, You can find more information on this case on the web and other books due to this case being a case where a police officer was abducted. And I was just thinking, Herb reported that they were wearing like a suit, kind of like that classic 1950s sci-fi suit. And they
Hmm.
had an emblem on their chest, like kind of a reverse triangle emblem on their chest. But like in the conversation, according the aliens were saying that they were trying to disguise themselves because, they're just trying to hide themselves because they've been being insane. But go listen to his interview. I think it's a very good historical account, especially when it comes to a police officer. And, I'm not trying to judge police officers. I know there's been bad cops out there, but I don't think in his instance he would make that up because
No.
why would you? I don't think there's any benefit to him making up a story like that.
Yeah, when nobody
Uh,
gets rich off of it, you can usually tell that's usually a true one. Yeah.
And I just remembered we were talking about synchronicity a little bit, and I remember what my synchronicity was pre-show. It revolves around Herb Shermer. How weird is that? That my synchronicity revolves around Herb Shermer. You want to know why?
Hmm.
Because a local beer company came out with a beer, and literally this is the time I live about 40 minutes from where this incident happened. And anyhow, I first discovered this case around the time that this beer come out.
Hmm.
And I literally just discovered about the Herb Schirmer case about probably less than 10 days before this beer come out.
Hmm.
And I didn't even notice it. I didn't even know this beer company much. I've heard about them. It's more of a local beer company. And I just was going to get groceries and they had a big stockpile of it right when you enter. I was like, this is Herb Schirmer. I said I knew this had to be Erd Turner. It was a local beard. It was like a policeman being abducted by a UFO. And
No.
yeah, so they did a little play on it. I just do a quick article here. They don't show the beer though. The story comes from Ashland Copper Herb Trimmer, who said back in '67 the aliens stopped in his town and brought him aboard their ship. I came across the story of this alien encounter in Ashland, Nebraska. Started doing my research on it. A ton of stuff came up. One of the things that were really unique about it was this guy from LA made a comic book about it in 2011, says Cody Schmick, co-owner of Kincaid Brewery. That guy from LA is Michael Jaskora, or Jasorka, a self-published comic book author who took Shermer's verbal account and made it into a 50-page comic book. Jessica doesn't think of it as some fairy tale either. He was drawn into the story because of Shermer's credibility as a cop. The facts that he brings across the storytelling are beyond a creative mind. They're too detailed, let's say, says Jessica. Local UFO experts Paul Breckenridge and John Booter told Jessica that they know about the case. They say one reason they believe it to be true is others across the country told police of very similar circumstances. The ETs were absolutely identical, and these were reported in police reports, not just a person coming forward and saying it happened to me. These were investigated by local law enforcement, says local UFO expert John Booter. Whether it happened or not, the story is now in a revival. That's because Nebraska's based Kincaid Brewery released a new beer this week, Star Space Dank IPA, and let me tell you, it is dank. I
Hmm.
drank one or two of them. Oh, hey, baby, what's up? You're looking at me. It was good beer, I'll tell you that. It was good beer. Um, Star Dank IPA, named after the extraterrestrial meeting. On the alien encounter, they had winged serpents. The aliens had winged serpents on their emblem. Winged serpents on their emblem is what it was. It was a triangle. I've seen depictions in drawings where it was a triangle,
Hmm. Okay.
like a reverse triangle. Throughout the week, Kincaid and Jessica have done a variety of events, including a book signing at High B Thursday, while Shermer is now dead and couldn't take part. His story lives on. We believe in the case. We really think it occurred with him, said Jessica. I kind of want to read that comic book now.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I thought everybody might kind of like the story of Herb Shermer, like not a lot of people know about. And yeah, I want to say this about him. You want to know how I found out about him?
Hmm.
A random a random snippet of like a news segment with Dan Aykroyd was on a news channel talking about Herb Shermer. Dan
Hmm.
Aykroyd, the actor,
Oh yeah,
because
he's
he's
into
been,
all of this.
yeah, yeah. That's why I discovered that too, that he was into all that. I didn't know that. And then I heard that interview randomly. I was like, Herb Shermer, this is only 40 miles from me.
Hmm.
And then, Dan Aykroyd's into this. And then like less than 10 days later, I see that beer. And
Hmm.
so I thought that was kind of interesting
That's
synchronicity.
Yeah, it's a synchronicity. I feel Herb Schermer himself was actually guiding you to some of these things because it's
It's
like,
weird. I still like to go. It's so busy now. We've been out to that area. Your friend lives in Greenwood, which is, Greenwood's literally only up the road. The
hmm.
Greenwood, what is his name again? I always forget.
Yeah, he doesn't want his name mentioned on, but
Oh, whoops, sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, him. But it's a weird area. I feel like,
It's a paranormally charged area there. I've been
yeah.
to Greenwood, and yeah, that's interesting that the Herb Schermer case was right there. And it sounds to me in that case like because it intersects with a lot of these similar type of things that happen throughout the country around that particular time that of people seeing ETs like the Betty and Barney Hill from that to
Yeah.
cold case in Appalachia to
Yeah, that's very similar too. I feel like Betty and
yeah.
Barney Hill and Herb Sherm are somewhat similar a little bit.
Yeah, very, very similar.
And
And
people know that case a lot more than Herb, obviously.
but I do feel that him like I believe he himself kind of guided you to that particular
Hmm.
because since he's in spirit now, so that I've noticed that when we were looking into the visitors from Lanulos type of scenario with Woodrow Derenberg, there's a similar thread there as well with Indrid Cold and the visitors from Lanulos. If people want to look into that, it's a kind of on a similar thread with those cases, even though Derenberger's was more elaborate, but Herb Shermer's seems to be of a similar thread where to more to Betty and Barney Hill, where they interacted with the ETs on the ship, and
Hmm.
when he began to remember those things. So yeah, they do some the way they wipe memories is for they suppress them with frequency toning, and some of it's chemical, but some of it's frequency as well. And also the descriptions of the logos and everything. There, with the snake with that, I've noticed that there's some medical ETs out there that also were the basis for some of our medical emblems and everything. Like they're a group called the Velodians, and that's who they identify themselves as. And I found that they started the concepts in ancient Greece for hospitals and such, like the
Hmm.
Asclepius concepts and everything, Hippocratic Oath, all of that. So this sounds on a similar thread to those cases as well. So
Hmm.
that one actually, when people see like medical instance where people call them soul doctors, where they come in and they have either a near death experience of like some angels trying to help them, or some ETs do this, but also like say if a mysterious ambulance shows up and somebody's hurt or something like that, people have attributed it to angels. That's a mask the Velodians use when there's medical situations. So these are aliens, completely alien. So when that happens, I came to find out because we've encountered them specifically. So that's how I know that that's going on. But with Herb Shermer, that actually feels to me like that one is from that area of Nebraska. I've run into ETs in that area and around your area that actually, again, the classic onesie jumpsuit, but then have the triangular emblem on the chest, and they have a not a round head like a gray, but they're like a um, they're like just a regular person, looking like a regular person with devices on their head. So I've come across like a group that look like what you described there, but there in Nebraska. And there's some gray types that are like even types that are up there as well. So they've all kind of conglomerated around that area. But yeah, that makes sense. The 60s, there were so many of those types of cases that popped up. That also, if anybody listening, if your family had a case like that went unreported, that was of a similar thread to say Herb Shermer, let us know that went
Hmm.
unreported. Like, and nothing that entered into any of the pop culture or anything. But if it's like those, uh, yeah, let us know about that because you had Darren Berger, then you had Dr. Frank Strange's that reported the Valiant Thor material a decade before that. So this, if it's any of those similar threads, that would be great to let us know. So.
Yeah. Like I said, you got to talk about and share your experiences just
Mhm.
that way people can compare and combine.
Because that was a hot decade from the beginning of from like the end of World War II to the end of the 60s was this huge uh, time frame of UFOs. So along with everything else.
Yeah, that stuff that people were too afraid to report back in the day too.
Mhm. And we even met a man by the name of Dr. Pettit, and he told
Yeah.
us he was a channeler too, but he interacted with Arcturian aliens. He said some of the stuff me and Joanna speak about in the lifting, that back in his day, back in that time frame, the Men in Black would actually pay you a visit, or you would be actually killed for even saying half of the stuff we talk about now. So
Hmm.
that's what he told us at an event we went to. He sadly passed away, but or else we'd be interviewing him. So but back in that time frame, there's some stuff that you could not talk about that's actually more acceptable now. Uh,
Hmm.
in this area is getting much larger than it actually was. So, and people seem to feel freer to come out with their information. So, but along those similar threads, along with what the Herb Shermer encountered, along with Derenberg, I do want to tell the reason I left this story for the very last thing
Hmm.
was because this literally happened. Today is Thursday. This happened on Sunday.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
this happened on Sunday the 9th. We Joanna had to go to Walmart. For something while we were out, and I'm like, ah, crap, I don't want to do, I was like not wanting to do it. And she's like, oh, I only got to get a couple things for work and all that stuff. I'm like, all right, fine. And I was, a lot of crap's been happening around here. Even if people listen to our material, the lifting material, they know that Isaac's out of commission now. A lot of garbage has happened with some of the different guides out there and ETs. A lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect to that they've been in dangerous situations where things of this nature, as above, so is below. What goes on out there. I won't go completely into that; it would take too long. But I will say I was in a bad place with the with a lot of the galactic community, out there, and some that I channel. I was like, come on, this happened. Now we're in a situation, we're in a bind here, all this. And I'll back up. The night before is when I had my rant about this. And me and Joanna were watching an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I've been getting her into that. And it was this episode, where Cisco basically defies orders and he goes and rescues a crewman. And I basically went on a rant and said, okay, here's the deal. Along with also some medical stuff that's popped up too. And I said, okay, guys, here's the deal. I want one of you to pull a Benjamin Sisko. That's the name of the captain in Deep Space Nine. And me, when I say that, is I want you to break ranks a little bit, show me that you are who you are. No pretenses, no masks, no euphemistic language, stuff like that. No any of that. No new age concept language, any of that. I want it straightforward. I want you to look me in the eye and I want you to shake my hand. Well,
Hmm.
and also help correct some of the crap that's come up. I'm not trying to make too many demands because Isaac got hurt as a result. He took too many risks. When he returns at some point, he's probably not going to be as interactive. But these some of these beings were getting really close because I'm the one that put the risk taker kind of vibe out there.
Hmm.
But I said, not, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I would let like a face to face encounter. And it's very, very rare anymore in this decade when stuff like that happens. If you have encounters like that, let us know, but that you're not talking about. But what happened was we went into, fast forward back to Walmart, went in there, and we were getting ready to leave. We were going towards the self checkout. And I'm wearing this shirt, the one you gave me, Aubrey, this no signs of intelligent life here with this. I'm wearing this one. This is why I put this one on for this show. Went in there, and I'm standing. Here's the self checkout. I'm like in the middle of the aisle. This guy comes walking like right up to me. It's
Hmm.
like really quick. And this guy walks up to me and he goes, "Oh, I like your shirt. No sign of intelligent life." I heard the voice before I saw him. and and I looked at him. He was a little bit taller than me, had this like curly, like really curly hair, and he had a hat on, and he was slightly taller, about maybe an inch taller than me. I'm 6'1", and uh, looks at I look at him, and I'm looking him in the face. His eyes and the way his face was slightly different than anybody else, and his eyes were a hazel turquoise mix.
Oh.
And that's not common. Isaac's eyes were turquoise. So
Hmm.
I've seen him before. So he just looked like me with red hair and 7 feet tall with turquoise eyes. So that's what he looked. But
Hmm.
this guy was of a similar thread in that way, just shorter than Isaac. And he was walking up to me, just wearing like an old t-shirt and like jeans, comes walking up to me, and basically he identified himself as Dr. Benjamin Wright. And why is that
Hmm.
a synchronicity? We had just been in the Outer Banks by the Wright brothers Kitty Hawk
Hmm.
monument, just like what I'd said before. Well, we've encountered ETs out there. We even encountered Lane and Vessa and her brother Vosk out there before. Physically, I've seen them out there. So Isaac also. So
Hmm.
but with this guy, and he looked me right in the eye and he extended his hand and he shook my hand.
Hmm.
And he looked at me, and and I said, "Are you any relation to the Wright brothers?" And he looked at me and gave a weird answer. He said, "Always." And um, and he walked away, and then and he made he goes again, "No sign of intelligent life, huh?" He kept repeating that from the shirt, and I said, "Not here anyway." And I was referring to Walmart,
Hmm.
and he left, and then he booked it around the corner, and
Huh.
because when you recognize an ET, they're per their rules, they have to walk away quickly.
Hmm.
So he followed I call it the angels unaware rule. Like if you don't know that they're from out there, they don't have to leave. But if you even think for a second and you know they're from elsewhere, from like an alien or whatever, they have to go. That's their rule. Well, that's part of their rules. So
Hmm.
I hope that changes at some point. I feel it is changing because when it changes, it starts to buck the security that's in this system that the ICC, Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, and our Kabbalists and government agencies have on this. It starts to buck that a little bit each time you catch an ET. Sure. No,
Hmm.
I just want to tell that to people. If you catch an ET and you keep disrupting that system, it starts to change it. But the thing of it is, it has ripples and waves. The thing of it is, when he booked it around the corner, I stood there going, "All right." I knew when he shook my hand, he passed certain codes to me that I started to feel better. I felt like crap when I went there. I started to feel better. And the fact that he said, "Doctor," I'll break down the wordplay for people. Doctor, that's Velodian. That's what they're called out there. The Velodians are the doctors out there. Benjamin would be a wordplay on Captain Benjamin Sisko from Deep Space Nine. And Wright, like Wright, would be like the Wright brothers, where we had just been in the Outer Banks. So
Hmm.
he knew I'd be able to break down the wordplay fairly easily. So he chose an alias that was of all three concepts. Because
Hmm.
I'd called on the Velodians for medical stuff. I had just referred to somebody breaking the rules or bending the rules as pulling a Benjamin Sisko, and we had just been in the Outer Banks near the Wright Brothers Monument. We couldn't get in there because of the government shutdown because it was a national park. The one time we actually go there to check it out, I was going to do a ghost box session. Nope, it was closed because thank you, government shutdown. But we were at the Wright House, which is the lifeguard house across the roadway or the highway from the Wright Brothers Monument, and we stayed in a hotel on Joanna's birthday on Thursday. Then Friday we left. Saturday we was where we went out to dinner with her family. Sunday is when we encountered the Velodian ET. So uh, And I thought that was very interesting. And he actually came back later in a telepathic sort of way where I could hear him and hear like I do with any channeler or any channeling. And he said his real name was Sava Bina.
Hmm.
And again, play on the Ben name. But Sava for them means lieutenant, like we have a lieutenant, and Vin means commander, and Visa means captain. So in their language, so it's from what I understand. They're breaking it down for me, but it's interesting that Herb Shermer one had something like this as well. And I could see him in my mind's eye. I could see him. He was in one of those onesie uniforms with the triangular thing, like the Star Trek symbol here, and it was their medical corps symbol. So I had like a ring in it with a vertical line through it, and that's their medical corps when it goes down like that
Hmm.
it by itself or with the triangle, like Star Trek. So that's where Roddenberry got the idea from. What are these encounters? And that was also in the 60s when that was created. So it's all within that same bracket. Star Trek was invented in that time frame. So that's another synchronicity in of itself. That's when it was birthed, was in that time frame. So I found that very interesting. I wanted to tell people that I know it wasn't unusual UFO case, but I
Hmm.
knew he came from a spaceship. You could just,
That is weird.
yeah. And
A
that
strange
is,
encounter and synchronistic. Kind of weird where we both had synchronistic, sort of
yeah.
weird, stories.
I thought at first, maybe, first, my brain was going, did somebody channel through him? Because that happens a lot where they drop down in that. You see that in Picard season 2, where this agent is trying to get Picard's attention and she's telepathic and channels into various people to lead him where she is.
Hmm.
That's the same as the Valiant Thor case with Dr. Frank Strange. Is that's where they got the Picard season 2 Gary Seven also narrative in Assignment Earth is the name of the old episode. But that's the Valiant Thor case right there. If people want to look into that, the Gary Seven character from Star Trek is essentially Valiant Thor, and his group is essentially like the Venusian colonies, like Dr. Frank Strange writes about. But the Roddenberry again got it from those cases that happened within the same time block. So, uh, but with this case, it's very similar to Herb Shermer's and a couple other cases out there. And before people say, "Well, Chris, how do you know that wasn't military too?" The reason I know it was not, and it very easily could have been an op. I do agree. In a regular circumstance, that could have been an op and somebody yanking my chain. Yeah, if somebody's going to ask that, because that could have easily been a human that could have just put contacts in or something. But Comic Con, right, or some alien con event or something. But the reason is, when somebody has been off planet because they have a unique energy signature about them. They have a unique presence about them. When you go past the firmament, which is past the Van Allen belt, there's a certain radioactive signature that kind of soaks into your cells, an energy signature that soaks into your cells. And people that have been abducted by aliens and taken off world or off planet have this signature. That's how you know
Hmm.
alien abductees. That's how you know secret space program people. They have been off planet. This person had been off planet. You could tell by the way he felt, by the way he even spoke, by the way his eyes looked, by the way the overall feel of it was alien. So
Hmm.
this
Weird.
and Walmart, I will say, people, if you want to see, I know the strange and unusual, that's Walmart by itself. But aside from the weirdos that come and go from there, there are there are ETs that do also come and go. And also Walmart's, Home Depot's, Lowe's, any of those are attached to DUNS military bases that are under the ground. If you go in the back room, if you're an employee that works in these places, there is a door, and I've said this numerous times, that looks like it has no door handle on it. That is where, and it goes down underneath. That is where the military can use these facilities as staging areas if a war breaks out. And I saw a guy in a military uniform use one of those doors with a magnetic door handle where he stuck it to the door and opened the door back up and went downward. He was in a military army uniform. I saw that in Arizona. And so I was supposed to see it. These were things that people normally don't see. And that's a passage underneath to get to a dumb's base. Could this guy have used one of those? Yes, but it didn't feel like that he did. So if anybody again is saying military, they could have used that hatch in the back. No, this didn't feel like that. So I thought that was quite an interesting incident that we had, and Joanna saw him too. So
Hmm.
she was out there looking at him. She knew damn well he wasn't human. Uh,
Pretty
and
weird. I don't know. It seems strange, especially with the dialogue and how it happened and the synchronistic and the feeling and the shirt and
Yeah, it was basically he was pointing out with this that he was aliens. He was pointing to the aliens. So like he was making sure to reference the alien. So
weird.
yeah, like somebody could argue that he was overemphasizing it because it was a cover. I could see if somebody comes up with that too. But
Hmm.
I've run into military doing that thing. You just know when somebody's yanking your chain and when they're not. And so and I could see where somebody could argue it be in the other camp but and somebody's running an op. I could get that, but this guy had a different feel about him. And did our military out in space could they be past the Van Allen belt too? Yes, but this again did not feel like that. It didn't feel like one of our people. It felt like one of theirs. So
Hmm.
it's more on an intuitive level at that point, where you just know. And he had a really strong psionic energy around him. Like when I do my work, when a being is around to channel, this is what that is. It's psionic energy, is what it is. And this being, he had a lot of psionic energy around him, more than a regular human in a military program would have been trained to utilize.
Hmm.
Like somebody that naturally did it out there, and not somebody who just had the training in a military program here. There's a feel difference there.
Hmm.
So if anybody's trying to say, Chris, there could be this camp, I get where you're coming from. So or yeah, it could be somebody yanking my chain. But this was a very cool experience. That set me straight. That was like
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm impressed. I'm heavily impressed with that.
Hmm.
So, because I was going, guys, come on. We need something here. We felt like we were being ostracized or abandoned and all this, and that set it straight. And so,
Pretty interesting experience.
yeah. And every now and again, they will do something like that. Like Elena and Vesa, I will do this one thing before I go into any sort of Q&A here. But the one thing in the same spot in the Outer Banks. This was about, I would say, towards I want to say towards the middle of the year. And we were out there at the right house again. And that's what our spot that we come and go to. There's a restaurant there called the Black Pelican that we go to dinner there or lunch there a lot. So, and also Jolly Roger, if people have been out there. We went there for breakfast when we were out there before. We generally don't get to do that because we don't stay until the morning because that's a morning place. So, breakfast place. But walking up the beach, the right house is on my right and the catwalk or the walkway to go to the bathrooms and from around down the stairs of the parking lot is that direction, looking towards the open beach. There was very few people over here, and there was like a foggish over here. I go to turn right onto the walkway. Joanna's ahead of me. When I'm walking, Vesa, who is the blonde here, uh, walks literally right past me with her brother. I knew he looks like he's a bodybuilder. If people, he was like a mini Schwarzenegger, look, and and he wears sunglasses. He's like has like the no neck look. He's a big bodybuilder looking guy. Uh, well, him and her walked right past me, and she made eye contact with me. When did this looked this way and did looked out of the corner of her eye and looked right at me. So, but the thing of it is, Joanna did not see them. Her and her brother walked right past Joanna. I said, "Do you see who's ahead of us?" Nope, not at all. Joanna was standing right in front of me. She did not see them, and I heard Elena behind me talking to me in my head as well. But the thing of it is, I couldn't turn around and look. I couldn't turn my body to turn around and look, but yet I was still walking forward.
Hmm.
And I walked to the stairs, down the stairs, following Vesta and her brother to a point. Then I get to down the stairs, and I turn. Then I could turn around again, and I turn around and look. Elena was not there, or nobody was there. And the thing of it is, alien abductees run into this where they feel like, oh, they're walking, but they can't control the fact that they're walking towards something. A lot of this is a common alien abductee scenario, but this was out in a major public place with people around. Again, like with the guy in Walmart, it was a public area where it's in the middle of tourist season in the Outer Banks at that time. This was around June-ish. Uh, and I thought that was interesting. But I wanted to add that because it's a point of comparison to the current one. But this year, that's what we've had two encounters this year, and that's one this past week, and then one back in June. So that
Pretty good. You're
yeah.
having more than me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you put it out there strong enough, you are going to most likely get something. Uh, I always use the phrase true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. People hear me say that a lot on the lifting. It is because you don't want some asshole yanking your chain.
Hmm.
You want some peaceful contact. You want, if you're curious about uh, who's who. But you always want benevolent. You never want anything else. But I know there's a lot of people out there that want to stick that fork in the light socket. Fine, go for it. But
Hmm.
just know you don't want that. You don't want that side of it. So ever. And so, but yet, believe I'm at the point where I can do Q&A here.
Yeah, we'll get ready for that. I just want to do one. I just
Oh,
want to
sure.
do one more thing, and then I won't share the
Oh, I didn't
screen.
know you had one left. Okay. All right.
I'm not gonna talk about a particular case. I'm just going to uh, tell everybody states with the most UFO sightings, and I'm just gonna go down the list. And this is just from Stacker.com. It might not be 100% accurate, but it's probably close.
Yeah.
51 DC. UFO sightings per 100K residents, 22. Number 50 surprised me is Texas.
Hmm.
100K what UFO sightings per 100,000 people, 23. Probably because of the massive land, people don't see them. It's so wide open. Number 49, Louisiana. 23 per 100,000 sightings per 100,000 people. 48 is Mississippi, 25 and 100,000. Number 47 is Georgia, 27 and 100,000. 46 is Alabama. 45 is New York. 44 is Maryland. 43 is New Jersey. 42 is Virginia. And it's jumped up to 32 in every 100,000. Just real quick, two UFO sightings were reported to the National UFO Reporting Center in Virginia on April 4, 2019 at 6:48 a.m. An eyewitness claimed to have seen a light blue circular craft darting across the sky, kind of like what you were reporting in Virginia Beach,
Mm-hmm.
headed east. 7 minutes later, an eyewitness at the Norfolk Naval Station, 23 miles northwest, claimed to see what resembled a shooting star with a green glow that never faded and a short tail. The object moved without noise quickly across the sky and disappeared in 10 seconds. There were 2,348 UFO sightings reported throughout the state between '01 and 15, roughly 27.9 sightings per 100,000 people. Number 41 is Illinois. 40 is Tennessee. 39 is Michigan. 38 is Nebraska. 36 per 100,000. And I think I've seen four of mine here. One of Nebraska's most well-known UFO stories was turned out into a comic book.
Hmm.
2019, aptly titled An Alien Encounter. What was that about, everybody? We already learned about it.
Yeah.
Book illustrates a 1967 eyewitness account from a Nebraska state patrolman, Herbert Shermer, who saw what he assumed to be a tractor trailer, but which turned out to be a UFO. Under hypnosis, Shermer recalled being abducted and shown how the spacecraft worked. Number 37 is Ohio. Number 36 is North Carolina. 35 is Pennsylvania. 34, Kentucky. 33, Oklahoma. 32, Massachusetts. 31, North Dakota. 30, Minnesota. 29 Iowa, 28 Kansas, 27 Indiana. It's how all the weird mess are all clung together here.
Mm-hmm.
Number 26, Florida. Uh, 25 is Wisconsin, 24 California, 23 Arkansas.
Arkansas. They actually ticked you there for saying Kansas instead of Arkansas.
Number 22, Delaware. Number 21, South Dakota. And we might as well read that one too. During the evenings. Oh, hey! Did I pick two good ones or what? During the evenings of August 5th and 6th, 1953, nearly 4 dozen civilians in the Bismarck area and multiple military air defense systems personnel at the Ellsworth Air Force Base reported a red glowing light marking or making sweeping movements across the sky. The light was further detected on radar by the air defense system. Similar signs were reported earlier in the western North and South Dakotas. The extensive documentation by the Air Force makes the Ellsworth case among the most significant UFO signs in American history. And South Dakota is 44 per 100,000. Number 20 is Missouri, and I know they've had some. Missouri has a bunch of weird shit.
Oh yeah, Missouri is loaded with UFO.
Uh,
Yeah.
Number 19 is South Carolina, your neighbor. And West Virginia is number 18. Uh, Number 17 is Hawaii. Number 16 is Utah. Yep, Monument Valley, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 15 is Rhode Island. Surprisingly, what the hell?
Right.
Probably because it's so tiny and many people see it.
Yeah. No offense, Rhode Island, but you're the midget of the.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, the hell? I'll just read this one. It's kind of interesting. Two of the most iconic flying saucer photos of the 60s were snapped in 67 at Woonsocket, Rhode Island. The first, on June 10th, was taken by Harold A. Trudell, who pulled his car over in the East Woonsocket in order to wait for a UFO sighting, several of which he claimed to have already experienced in the area. The 7 images he captured over the course of 5 minutes have long been disputed. The other photo was captured on June 18th and bears striking similarities to the craft another man, George Adamski, claimed to have captured on a film in 1952, which one German scientist said was nothing more than a fake photo used in a surgical booth. So who
Mm.
knows? But it's still interesting how they have that many reports. I'll have to look that up on the UFO Reporting Data Center. Number 14 is Connecticut. 13 is Colorado, which I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
12 is Nevada, which I'm not surprised.
Right
Number
there.
11 is Wyoming, which kind of surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10 is Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the top 10 now. Number 9 is New Mexico.
Yep. Yep.
Number 8 is Idaho. Number 7 is Maine. Number 6 is New Hampshire. All
Mm.
right, now what's the top 5? Which ones haven't we talked about? I don't
Yeah.
think I've seen Oregon. I don't think I've seen Michigan. I don't think I've seen California.
You'd think Arizona would have been in the top
I
five.
thought so too.
Top five. Yeah. Yeah.
The top 5, Oregon, I said it, 87 and 100. Vermont,
Wow.
90 and 100. That surprises me. Among Vermont's most famous UFO stories is the Buff Ledge abduction, in which on August 7, 1968, 4 UFOs appeared over Lake Champlain and allegedly abducted 2 camp counselors in Vermont.
Mm.
The lights from the encounter were reported by multiple witnesses. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. That one I haven't. Yeah.
Oh shit, I forgot about this. Number 3, Alaska.
Okay. That makes sense for Alaska.
Yeah.
United States and the country.
Still, though, this does surprise me that Texas wouldn't be more because of the sparse, vast, and Alaska doesn't have the population it does, but 90 in every 100,000.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Montana.
Now. Okay. Mm.
And then number 1 is Washington.
Washington State.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I can kind of see that. I mean, if you count the cryptid stories too, like Sasquatch and everything, I suppose that would bring the numbers up. But
Well, I
yeah.
thought that'd be a good roundup for our UFO tidbits to stories that should never be forgotten. I just learned about one in Vermont I need to look at tonight. Might listen to a video on.
I didn't know about the Vermont one. Yeah. And before anybody complains, yes, Rhode Island, since you're like the smallest state, yes, you're the midget of the country. So,
Yep. Sorry.
yeah, you've been
No
declared,
many.
yeah. Yeah, I'm there. I only passed through Rhode Island one time. It just didn't take long to get through it.
Yeah, about 5 seconds.
Yeah, 5 seconds, you blink, you miss it.
About like my town of 300 people.
Yeah, exactly. We could walk
Uh,
across Rhode Island. Yeah, but enough Rhode Island dumping. Okay, let's see.
yeah, sorry, Rhode Island. I'll come
Yeah,
visit sometime
all right.
for about 10 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to see. Who?
Unless if I can get a very good paying job there, I'd move there and then I'd live
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I've been through Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. Yeah, it was okay.
If there's any honest work out there that isn't extremely back breaking, because I've done nothing but break my back. If anybody's listening to this that has a lot of money in Rhode Island, need good help, and pay me at least 140,000 a year, I won't bash Rhode Island. I'm moving on and start working for you.
Yeah, exactly. That will get him to move there, folks. So yeah,
Yeah, at least 140 a year.
that'd probably get us to move there at that point. So it's like,
Hmm.
but yeah. Let's see. Who's actually going to channel today? Um, hmm. All right, I believe it's Elena. We've had to tighten the circle even more since the thing with Isaac happened. So if people want to see about that, we have lifting episodes on that. I can't just repeat it; it's too much.
Okay.
It's way too much information. So
Well, that'll be perfect. I have the exact questions I know.
okay, let's see, Elena. They're from Lanulos. They're integrated into Woodrow Derenberger's work.
Hmm.
If you go visitors from Lanulos, that and the subsequent sequel books as well. That Tunia Derenberger has written as well.
Well,
Uh,
I have some intriguing questions.
okay, let's see. Uh, Elena. Well, hello. Yes, I know people are used to hearing Isaac blather on about stuff, but in this case, uh, I will fill the void along with my partner, Bessa. So we will fill this gap that he subsequently left behind. So these particular cases, yes, that were said, the recent ones here in Virginia Beach, which are a lot more that are not on record, as he said. The Burning Sea, yes, that was conflicts going on under the ocean and projects going on under the ocean with the inking oil slick looking apparatus. Yes, USO appropriately is the good tagline to put there. A lot of these different cases that are forgotten are usually because some townships and some people wish to sweep under the rug a little bit, but too many others do not. So therefore, they are lesser known. But this is why certain contact is hesitant, or hesitant sometimes to contact, is because of some of those cases. The forest people are the same way. It's like in your Appalachia and other places that are heavily religiously oriented or heavily skeptically oriented. Some races are hesitant to actually make contact. Now, in the case of Herb Shermer, that race was correct in saying they had been seen too many times and they had to distort their appearance. The Velodians are the same way, where they distorted their appearance as angelic forms, and they're nicknamed the Soul Doctors. You have your Stargate SG-1 reference, where a group of aliens was disguising themselves as crows and ravens and birds. There are races that do this as well. The forest people who show themselves as other animals as well, like from deer to birds, such as crows, ravens, and various other types of animals. Sometimes even bats they'll use. And other cryptids, not the bat-like cryptids, but the forest people do this quite often. But I will actually just go into questions because I know you have them.
Well, I want to dive right on into what you believe is the top three benevolent alien species that humans are in contact with.
Hmm. This is interesting. People like to lump the Nordic groups into one, even though there's good, evil, and all in between there. But people have encountered the Velodians, who was mentioned, our people, which would be Lanyalosian, and there are various other races as well that fall into the benevolent category, but Sasquatch falls under both Terran and alien because of also the ET encounters there. So if I had to pick top three, I know this is basically shameless self-promotion, but Lanyalosian, Velodian, and forest people because of the fact that they have galactic origins like yourselves, even though they have some, though that were not that are not galactics themselves. There is a group called Anakam within them that is the ancestral line that came from space. That also genetically altered the Australopithecus, and then the modern day Sasquatch had. That's where it has its anchor. So, top three, I would have to say again: Lanyalosian, Velodian, and force people.
All right, now let's go on the opposite end of the spectrum, the top three malevolent to humans.
Okay, that one's a slight bit tougher, but you have very let's see, how can I put this? Variations on a theme. One of the most malevolent is in the Aldebaran star system. Some of the, of course, the Draco fall under this category, but you have ones known as the Princes of the Universe. They are the slovenly, um, not necessarily Anunnaki per se. The Anunnaki are more Odin and them, even though Anunnaki means a lot of different ETs, but people associate the current ones with Enki Enlil Anu, but that is more Odin and his sons. They're benevolent as well. I suppose the Asgardians would be number four, but the malevolent would be princes of the universe. They disguise themselves as Nordic types, but in fact, they are indeed these Slovenly-looking scrotum heads with losing their hair, along with they would send people out to abduct people and try to bring slaves back to them. The Draco fall in under number two, and I suppose what's left of the Orion Graves would fall under three. They are the predecessor to some of the gray species. They were the ones that crossed the universal barrier and invaded other worlds. They would have been number one because of maliciousness. But since they are dwindling in their numbers and dwindling in power, I'd say they are a strong three. The princes of the universe would be one because of their allegiances, then resources. And number two would be the Draco reptilians because of their sheer bulk and psionic capabilities.
Hmm, pretty interesting. I guess with all of, with that information combined with the fact there's a lot of manipulation in artificial AI videos, how can we dictate the difference between something that isn't real and real in today's world when it comes to UFOs and aliens and
Hmm.
experiences of that nature?
Well, all aside from intuitive discernment, if you have equipment that can scan for AI anomalies within videos, if you have a software that is quite capable of doing that, even some of the more basic stuff can do this. That won't point out the basic stuff won't point out the differences between manipulated and not manipulated. It will tell you that there's manipulation there and to not trust the video. Nine-tenths of the stuff on YouTube encounters are either dis and misinformation that's put out there by your agencies to convolute everything, or it was made up by the general public. But there are some nuggets of things on some of those paranormal shows and such that are genuine. They let some genuine stuff in there now to get mixed with stuff that is not. But the way that you discern it with your eyes is, say, if it's an image of a UFO, there, we'll just go with a UFO or an alien. There is a quick reference that the human brain is already capable of decoding and encoding. That is a concept you call uncanny valley,
Hmm.
where you just know something is off about something. Something doesn't look right. Like when they look at somebody looks at CG and it's not quite right, but some people can't tell the difference. And that's an ancient ability to the survival capability of humans to discern danger. In this instance, Uncanny Valley will tell you two things. If an AT is around that your brain is having a hard time encoding, and you're not seeing it correctly, your uncanny valley will kick in. But it'll kick in more if you are seeing something that is fake. You'll look at something and it's not going to look right at all with your own human eyes. If it doesn't look right, you're getting most likely the fake. Like you look at something CG from the earlier years, like your Polar Express and other movies like this. And he saw this in Tron Legacy as well, where it didn't look quite right. But to people then, it didn't look wrong at all because that was where the CG had advanced to. But now people's uncanny valley kicks in, especially with Polar Express, with the eyes, where it's all dead looking and everything. This
Hmm.
this is even with current AI, and also, of course, the mouths move weird and all that other weird crap that happens with it, where an arm's sticking out of a forehead or something like that. But aside from all the weird quirks, if it is perfect, your uncanny valley will still kick in because it is a mask. It is a fake. It is a lie. Always trust the uncanny valley ability.
Very interesting. I just got one final one that kind of intrigues me.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can send it out. Through especially the last, I'll say 80 years, there's been reports of abductions. However, I feel as if abductions aren't as frequent as they used to be, as if that contract that humans had with aliens ran out, or if they're just not being reported as much. What's with the dwindling of reports of abductions, and are they still going on, and how are they being in operation?
Oh, they are still going on. It's just that you are correct, Aubrey. There is a contract dwindling. The contract of what is known as the 100 Years Disclosure Narrative, as well as from the times of your Eisenhower, where he reportedly allowed alien abductions. He was the fall guy, I will say,
Hmm.
from the deep state at the time. That was this also the yield, as Valiant Thor is doing, where he wanted to weave in information over a period, over a 100-year period about UFOs and aliens, so people's encoding and decoding could slowly bring this in. They tried to reveal an insectoid to a security guard one time on post, a couple days away from retirement one time, and that person died of a stroke and a heart attack because
Hmm.
they couldn't handle the look. This alien just walked up to him and went, "Hello," dead. The Valiant Thor did not want this. But I don't agree with his slowness of things. But yes, you are correct. Some of these military factions and ET factions that were once allowed to have free reign are actually being reeled in one by one if necessary. The example he likes to give is a friend of his was being abducted by military, but then it stopped. But then all of a sudden, this person got an infestation of bed bugs. And I know that's not uncommon, but this was an over the top thing, kind of like almost like a plague level. And this, or like locust swarm type thing. But with this, there were two in there that were for her and her partner that were mechanical in nature. That same military faction he dubbed the bedbug faction because of this, used these to collect certain genetic samples that they needed for their continuous trading with the galactic community, but their contract had run out. That particular faction's contract had run out, but then they were caught doing it again, and therefore they got in trouble, and now they're not in circulation anymore. You're starting to see this because certain abductions are simply just not allowed in that particular way anymore. This is why they're being more nonchalant and more criminal. Even though some would argue that abductions alone are criminal, just know your quote unquote ruling bodies were allowing this up until very recently as they are starting to dwindle. That's why certain reports of abductions have gone down.
Hmm. Very interesting. Thank you. I was just curious about that and wondering. Thanks for the
Mm-hmm.
information today.
With good reason that they've gone down because you're getting closer and closer to actual contact and sovereignty away from these different contracts. That's why that is happening.
Good. At least that's one less worry in today's world.
Yes, when you find out how many there were, you will probably, let's just say, shit yourself. So,
Yeah.
since the time of the 50s, you will definitely do so. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the information. I appreciate that.
Yes. Yes. Any further questions for myself? Hmm?
No, that's perfect today.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Answered all the questions I needed.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to what I've said. I will return soon. In lieu of Isaac's absence, I and my partner will be the ones doing the bulk of the information giving. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for popping through.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, yeah, since we've had too many incidences ourselves and also contract violators as well as some wanting to do this very thing, trying to get the their last second nuggets of whatever they needed or wanted. It's not that like the certain things like the cabal or anything are going away, like you see in the propaganda reports that are out there, or mass arrests or anything like that, but the reduction in viable contracts for some of these groups. That is true. So yeah, that I can say is reducing is the amount of abductions, and thankfully, just like I said, I want to see them face to face and not in an abduction scenario. So yeah,
Same.
yeah.
Like I'd rather call instead of text.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'd rather see them instead of call. So yeah, and interact with them that way. So that's like a it's basically like an egg timer countdown kind of thing. Now, can I give a year for that? No, I don't know. But I know 2030 is a big year, but I don't like giving years for disclosure. A lot of the people out there that give these disclosure years are full of crap 9/10 of the time. So you can't really trust any of that's the mis and disinformation. There really is no set time. It's whenever the right kind of universal and divine timing is. But other than that, there is no time for it set. So I would like it now, but there's a plan in the works. I know the 100 years disclosure contract ends in the 2050s, but there are ways out of that. So in the here and now, you can exit that uh, fairly easily if enough people know about this. The only reason I believe Valiant Thor extended it that far is because he was trying to get it into the next generation of people that didn't remember some of the hardships from this time frame, from the abduction period. And I believe for history's sake, people have to remember that. I disagree with him fervently on that tactic because people have to remember this, even if there's trauma behind it. He just didn't want any hatred towards the galactic community for something some other shysters did. And I get it, but people still have to remember that history. That's like you can't tear down statues or anything. You got to remember even the awful history. Even if there's
Hmm.
trauma bonds behind it, you can sever those, but still learn from the history. So I'm in the other camp from him. That's where him and I disagree on tactics. So, uh, but that's where I'm at with that. But I don't know, Aubrey, if you want to add anything before we take this out.
Well, I guess I was just trying to research a few more, trying to find this whole website to tell everybody to send them out with that I used to find historical research on, but I can't find it with
Hmm.
UFO cases and everything. But
Those are reducing too. I've noticed the databases like the Shadowlands people. If you guys own the Shadowlands, if you're hearing this, please get a hold of us because we would like to get in on that. If you don't mind, I don't have any way of contacting you guys now. You've taken the site down. If you owned the Shadowlands, please get a hold of us because and any of these sites that have gone down, I believe that goes under the whole contract thing too, where things are reducing and then things will come out more into a central database. So.
I
Uh,
guess the only thing I can say is be sure to keep your eyes on the skies because you never know what you might miss.
Oh
And
yeah,
you're not going to see them if you don't look up
yeah. If you don't,
most of the time.
if you're just staring at your phone, folks, you're not going to see what's up there. So yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, we forgot to say one thing. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is going to
Oh
be
yeah, this is the Thanksgiving show. We got so wrapped up in the UFO talk that we forgot about being thankful. So I guess we can, be thankful for this time of year. I guess I'll be cliche and say that, but I will also kind of be UFO clichéful and be thankful if you have seen a UFO and you've had
and
that
aliens had
experience.
contact with
Yeah,
them personally like that.
or yeah, I have had alien contact experience. Nah, I guess be grateful and thankful for those experiences. I know I am. I wouldn't be in the place I would be without the UFO experiences I've had.
Mm-hmm,
And
it is.
comment yours below. And we want to know if you don't believe too, say I don't believe it. You know, I've never had an experience. Just let us know. That way, you know how many people have, you know how many people haven't.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm grateful for. Oh, I know. Even though with the rough periods with this, with the negative activity, I wouldn't have my knowledge any other way. You know, I wouldn't want to be asleep in this. You know, I wouldn't want to be ignorant to this. That's
Hmm.
me personally. Other people have different opinions, but still, I'm grateful for and thankful for the fact that I know these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, even if others don't. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, that sounds good. But until the next time, everybody, we hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving and we're into the holiday swing of things. And Chris and I are going to dabble up a nice Christmas and a holiday episode for you all. We might do something a little bit we're offbeat, but kind of grotesquely fitting, I guess. Per se, I don't know. We'll come up with some ideas.
Grotesquely fitting. I like that.
But
So.
until then, we hope you're well, and we will see you next time.
And you are now exiting the conspiracy sector, everybody. So goodbye, everybody.
Adios.